Good afternoon. How's everybody doing? Wow. Do you feel that? That energy, that excitement? I mean, after a great day like today, I'm sure you've had this session circled on your calendar for weeks now. So hopefully Matt and I will not disappoint you. So obviously we're going to be talking a lot about security and a lot about networking, and we will be biased and to show you what Cisco is doing in these two spaces and how we're integrating them together to help you solve your business challenges. So I've got a quick pulse check for everyone. I want to see a show of hands for everyone who thinks that Cisco is a strong network provider. Come on, people. It's Cisco. You can raise your hand, right? All right. Put your hands down. How many? Now I want everybody who believes that Cisco is a strong security provider to raise their hands. Guys, I'm standing right here. Like, come on, you don't have to be so rude. But I totally get it. I've been at Cisco 17 years, and I know what you guys are thinking. Like, hey, Cisco, you acquire a lot of companies. You let them die on the vine. You don't play well with others, right? You don't innovate. So I want to just spend a couple minutes changing your mind and let you know what we've been doing in the past few years. So these are our security acquisitions since 2020. This totals over $35 billion in acquisitions to bring these companies into our portfolio. Now, I want you to look at where we spent our money and when we spent our money, because last I checked, a lot of companies weren't writing checks over COVID, right? They weren't acquiring. They were sort of hitting the brakes, pausing until they figured out what they wanted to be in the new world that we're driving towards, right? So you see here, there is one mention, I believe, of network security, and that's a cloud network company. But it's all about understanding the applications, understanding the cloud environments, leveraging AI. I'm giving myself 7 or 8 times to say AI. I'll try to keep it under that. Obviously, identity, who's on your network, and automating the process to make things simpler. So, but you're going to say to yourself, Ben, we've heard it before. Cisco's always acquired companies. You've always acquired technology, and you've let it die. You've sunsetted it. You've left us holding the bag. Anybody have that experience? I've been here a long time. Cisco Mars, ScanSafe. There's a couple major acquisitions that we just simply did not develop, did not continue. But we have definitely changed the game because, as you see here, these are all acquisitions pre-2020, actually dating back to, I think, 2012. And every single one of these major acquisitions is a critical component to the security platforms that we deliver today. You can go from IronPort, if you remember IronPort, bringing that, we even offer an API-driven email threat defense platform. You can plug in and have better fidelity and efficacy in your O365 environments. Obviously, our firewall and secure endpoint solutions. And guess what? We actually are doing a kick-ass job in management because our firewall management over the years was not up to standards, and we've completely revolutionized that, leveraging cloud platform and delivering things that give you flexibility and easy to migrate. We have a single secure malware analytics platform. So we're able to ingest malware from all different threat sources into a single place where your threat hunters and threat analysts can go and see, is this really malicious? What's it trying to do? What's it trying to target? So you can take that data back and utilize it to secure your organization and make sure you're protected. How many people have heard the term SASE today? Probably at least a dozen times already. We've leveraged our umbrella investment or acquisition to develop starting with our SIG gateway, our secure internet gateway, into our secure service edge. So that is the underpinning technology that is driving our SASE strategy. I'll get more into that later. Stealth Watch, so our ability to understand network flows, what's normal, what's abnormal, so that you can understand how things are changing with your environment, and if something looks like it might be malicious, we will tag that. We will show you the changes and show you exactly what steps you can take to remediate and protect your systems. CloudLock, that's our CASB solution, right? DLP components, things of that nature, because everything is in the cloud and your users are going everywhere, so we need to make sure that security stack is there. And then Duo for user identity and protection suite. Who are you? Where are you? Are you on a good device? Helping enable that zero trust methodology. So as you see here, we're not just talk, we're actually backing it up and investing in the solutions that we have acquired over the years. And sort of the proof is in the pudding. Now what we're doing is we're trying to make this a easy to deploy, customizable suite system. So because we have a crap ton of products at Cisco, right? And you probably own a crap ton of products. But how are we solving a business challenge by just throwing a bunch of products together, hoping your team can sort them up, manage them, collect all the data, collect all the threats, understand what's going on? So what Cisco's done is we've taken these solutions, packaged them into platforms in a single SKU that you can solve the challenges of user protection. So how are you allowing a user to get to an application with least privilege, and no matter where they are or where they might be, a seamless transit or a seamless user interface, so they feel like they're at work if they're at a Starbucks at their home, here at a conference, or wherever they might be at a branch or data center. Also, our cloud security suite. How many people have applications now in the cloud, or are putting their applications? AWS, Azure, GCP, right? How do you have a unified policy across all of those environments? Because right now, you might be leveraging the tools from Microsoft, might be leveraging the tools from Google. That's wonderful. You write the policy there, you believe you have lockdown, all of a sudden your boss comes to you and says, hey, we got a new application, acquired a new company, they're leveraging Azure or AWS or a different cloud. Oh crap, I gotta go write an entire new policy set to control that data. And how do you have visibility within that cloud? If you have multiple applications doing east-west transmissions, how do you have visibility and control and choke points? So what Cisco's done is we sort of obfuscated that control plane, taken it out, put it in front of the cloud, so you have a unified policy for every cloud application and provide a micro-segmentation between them so that blast radius is reduced. And then the breach protection suite. When the crap hits the fan, what tools do you have? Where can you go to solve a challenge, to find out exactly what's happening, to understand if it's impactful to your organization, and what tools are you being given to either automate that response or give you enough prescriptive information that your team can tackle it in minutes and not hours and days. So we've taken all of these acquisitions and made them consumable for you in a very simple format. So, yeah, bottom line is we just made it easy and consumable. I've got a question. Anybody have kids here, multiple children between the ages of 4 and 14? Come on, somebody's got to have some younger kids. Okay. Movie night. You guys ever have a family movie night with multiple children? I have 3 boys. And it goes into the oldest wants to watch Jumanji 2. The youngest wants to see WALL-E again for the 50th time. And mom and dad, we want to watch Jumanji, like the original Jumanji. Now, we know we own that content somewhere, right? And if you're like me, you've got Hulu, you have Netflix, you have Max, you have Prime Video. You also, if you're old like me, have a DVD store as well. Like you're in the basement, there's that box of DVDs that's been sitting there. That's where my original Jumanji is. I may even had the original VHS. But it's a pain in the ass because you know it's there, you know you want to get to it, and you have the kids bickering all the time, changing the movies. And wouldn't it be nice if you could just say, Jumanji, type in Jumanji, play. That's what we're doing with our secure access, secure service edge solution, because your users have a different authentication and authorization experience for every single application. You might have a long-tail application back in your data center. Need to spin up VPN to access that. You might have a SaaS application with multiple single sign-on prompts, single sign-on, that's in quotes, right? So how are we streamlining it so your user can click once and get to work? And because Cisco understands the fabric and the network transmissions, we do all of that back-end automation for you. So, like I said, they want to get to their Salesforce instance. Boom, click Salesforce, they are there. They want to get to an accounting application back in your back office. Boom, click it. The VPN is either already spun up or we spin it up. without without needing them to interact with it, and they get access to the application, all with underlying security controls built in. So that's what we're differentiating here, is the fact that we allow a security service edge that is seamless to your end users, a single experience, regardless of where they are, where they sit, what they're trying to access, while always leveraging least privilege principles. So you see, all companies in the last 10 years have taken that traditional security stack, right? You had a firewall, IDS, IPS, DLP, a malware solution, right? All of those sat in our data centers. Well, then your traffic all of a sudden started sitting in the cloud, and your users started going everywhere else. So then you had to do auto VPN, you're always on VPN solutions, you had to figure out ways to protect that traffic. What we've done, and we understand a lot of the other companies are doing this, is putting that security stack in the cloud for you. But there are things that Cisco does that are unique because we understand the network, and we have visibility into the cloud and the posture and the vulnerabilities within those instances because of the acquisitions we acquired. If you look at digital experience monitoring, we have the ability to, for a user, instead of calling the help desk, if all of a sudden an application is slow, page isn't rendering, they can't access it, something is going on, what are they going to do? They're going to call your help desk and bother that poor person, and guess what? They won't be able to fix it. It's going to roll up to your team, and you're going to have to go out and try to figure out, because it might be a VP or a C-level position that's having trouble. Well, with our ThousandEyes acquisition, we have that full path telemetry all the way down from the user's endpoint to that application, from the carrier to the home wireless router, their AP. We have all of that data buried in to our traffic so that when they have a problem, we actually will probably notice that they're having a problem, and we can say, in the right corner, this application is running slow. Thank you for your patience. You know why it's running slow now. Or, hey, your wireless signal at home sucks. Go from 2.4 to 5. Change your band so that you can get a better performance from your home network. So that's all built into the solution and one of the unique value props that we offer. So the beauty of this is we're bringing network as a service and security as a service together, because there's a lot of security companies out there going, we do SASE, we do SASE. You must understand fundamentally, network as a service is a main component of a SASE solution. So having a secure service edge is one thing, but having it integrated into our security, a network as a service solution like Meraki or some of the our SD-WAN solutions, that is truly having a unified experience, and you can turn on the security components. Let's say if you're a Meraki shop today and are leveraging SD-WAN or have a Meraki network, you can turn on that underpinning security stack pretty much in one click. We'll provide you all those services. Obviously, you've got to do the tuning and the policy and all of the rights. There is some baking that needs to be done. But as far as traffic flow and getting you to a cloud security stack, that can be done virtually instantly. Obviously, Cisco shines where security meets the network. And like I said, it's critical that security meets the network because there's so much data within the network that is critical. IoT devices, right? Anybody can throw an agent on a device and say, hey, we're protecting it. We can understand what's going wrong. This laptop is running bad. But what about your cameras, right? What about hospitals, an IV pump or something critical? It's having that network telemetry as well as that client-based telemetry actually gives you the power of having full visibility in your organization and ability to protect every facet of your organization. All right, another AI slide. How many people here are Tesla fans? Okay, not many. No, that's fine. Don't need to be one. I will not purchase an EV or vehicle until it has full self-driving, right? I want the ability to say, hey, I want to go to my mom's house, push a button, and be gone and not have to worry about it. I can do work. I can do whatever I want, watch a movie. So Elon Musk is driving towards this. He's been driving towards it for full self-driving for a long time. Do you know what his #1 inhibitor to sort of getting there faster is? He just did a recent interview on this, probably about a month ago. Incidents. So all of his Teslas out there, and he's got, sort of ones that are designed to tune and to take in incidents, have to drive over 100 miles before they have a single learnable event. Think about that. They're driving around for 100 miles before they can actually ingest something that will help them. So you think about what Cisco's done with the Splunk acquisition, right? We paid $29 billion for Splunk. Why? Because they have data and security data. And if you understand AI, and you understand if you have an arsenal around AI, who can tell me one of the 4 stockpiles you need in order to have a good AI solution? One of them's easy, because it's just compute. That's not really a value. It's more of just a resource, a commodity, if you will, right? So you have compute. Obviously, you have the network, because those server farms that are sitting in Idaho and Wyoming and Utah that are churning and churning, right? They need to be connected to share information, right? Then you have the models or the algorithms, right? But in the end, you need data. You need those events, just like Elon Musk's needs those events to help his self-driving get smarter and be more nimble. We need security events in order to train our models to be faster and to provide true remediation items. So that is why I believe Cisco acquired Splunk, because it is an arms race right now. And one of the key things an organization needs to win in AI and provide you the data you need to protect yourself is the actual data. And with our Talos organization, which before Splunk was ingesting over 5 terabytes a day of security-related telemetry, we've pretty much tripled, if not quadrupled that with Splunk. And so how do we bring this to you? Hey, Ben, this is great. Cisco can do all these things now. How do you benefit from it? Well, we have obviously multiple platforms. I talked about our secure access from the SASE solution. And all of our tools, all of our platforms will ingest the threat intelligence data that we now have and will continue to grow. But we have leveraging platforms like Cisco XDR. And so extended detection and response. There's a lot of XDR platforms out there. And you'll say, Ben, Cisco doesn't play well with others. Yes, if you look, main partners with Microsoft, Defender, CrowdStrike, SentinelOne. We can ingest other solutions very quickly and rapidly and show you the whole picture within your organization, leveraging the threat data that we have, and then providing a curated response. Like I said, our goal is to do that in an automated way, but if nothing else, we're going to give you a very tried and true prescriptive way that your team can go, okay, let's isolate, let's remediate, let's take care of this attack, make sure it doesn't take down our organization or cause us any impact. And so Cisco XDR is sort of our SIM with Splunk, our SIM and our SOAR that provides that capability to you. So the other beauty of this, we're building this now. We have Cisco XDR, I don't know if Matt's going to touch on this, into Meraki, our Meraki dashboard. And our marketing, it's called SNOC, Security and Network Operations Center, the rise of the SNOC. Don't hate me. But that's what we're bringing together. So how can you see a security event not only impact your endpoints and things, but what is it doing on your network? Where is it going on your network? And that data brought all together is now presented within your SD-WAN fabric, your Meraki dashboard, so that you have one single place to go. Because everybody I talked to today is wearing multiple hats, right? If you're lucky enough, you've got a security team and network team, but more often those are commingled. So you need a single source of truth, or at least a first place to go, and that's what Cisco's providing with the Meraki and XDR integration. So with that, that is my time. I'm going to turn it over to Matt, who's going to jump a little deeper into the Meraki platform.
Thanks, Ben. So being an engineer myself, I tend to concern myself with more of the day-to-day and how do these things work. Ben did a great job laying out kind of like the vision and where Cisco's going with some of these things. But for those of us that are on the keyboards deploying and managing these things, what does that kind of look like at a high level? I first want to start out with just going on a quick update on what's going on in the world of Meraki, and then we'll kind of show you how with some of these things Ben has talked about, Meraki might be the way for a lean IT shop to realize some of these values and get these integrations and systems up a little bit quicker. So a quick history of Meraki. First of all, do we have any Meraki users in the house today? A couple, okay. How many of you have never heard of Meraki? All right, that's good. If you don't mind sharing, what's your favorite part of the Meraki platform, or the thing that you enjoy the most?
How easy is to see what's going on the network. It's right there.
Okay, easy. All the information is right there. So started in 2006 by 3 students at MIT. They had a little pet project going called RoofNet, where they're developing a wireless technology to connect buildings on the campus. And in the process of that, they found out how much easier it was for the management of these devices to be done in the cloud. And so since its inception, Meraki has been, a cloud-first networking solution. That's where the management plane sits, right? The data plane is still locally switched on your LAN. Cisco caught wind of this in 2012, and we acquired Meraki at that point with the intent of growing it beyond its, wireless roots into a more unified network stack. So by 2021, I think we could safe to say we've accomplished that, right? That's when we crossed the line of 10 million active Meraki devices checking into the dashboard. And today we're approaching nearly 2 decades of cloud managing network experience there. So it's a very mature platform, but it's staying true to its roots with the cloud management piece. The portfolio as it sits today, has grown from the wireless as far as like the way our users and devices are accessing the network. We have access layer switches, core distribution, things like that. At the edge, we have a Converged box that's going to handle all of our firewalling and SD-WAN routing capabilities. The MX is the name of that there. And then a cellular gateway as a handoff, right? We're going to provide an Ethernet handoff for your 4G or 5G LTE connections. 2017, Meraki kind of got away from the IT side of the house here and started developing things on the IoT side of the house, right? So we introduced the MV network cameras at that point in time. And since then, we've added a number of environmental sensors as well that report into the dashboard. So things like temperature, humidity, air quality, which is very popular in the K-12 scenarios, right? Because we're able to detect on those volatile compounds from the vaping in the bathroom, right? So the IoT piece of this has grown significantly since 2017. And then kind of the unsung hero of Meraki, and I kind of think why it's so powerful, would be the API, right? So this dashboard is API-based, and what does that kind of get us? It gets us a much quicker way to integrate other products and also program and automate things on our own, right? So if we have a little bit of a programming background, we can really unleash the full potential of the dashboard. But the bread and butter of Meraki always has been and always will be the Meraki dashboard. So this is a converged management portal for all of your things labeled Meraki, right? You're not going to go anywhere else to configure them. You're not going to go anywhere else to troubleshoot them, to manage them. It's all done through the dashboard. The UI is designed to be simple. The slide says simple UI, accessible by anyone. I'll qualify that as almost anyone, right? We've all been there. So a very simple user interface where you're only going to see and kind of have access to things that you need and want to, right? So for example, if you're only running Meraki wireless access points, you're not going to have any buttons or options to configure the switches, right? That's not applicable to you. So we're only going to kind of show you what you have in there to keep it simple. And the reason for that is we want to keep things lean. So typically Meraki excels in leaner IT shops where maybe we're understaffed, we have too many users and devices, not enough people to manage this, right? How can we kind of take out some of that fluff through automations, being able to batch configure items, schedule firmware upgrades and things like that to kind of really help our IT staff out so they can focus on bigger and better things than responding to trouble tickets or switching a trunk port VLAN, right? How do we make it easy for them? And then with that being API driven, like I said, it's easy for us to add new features into the cloud, and also being cloud-based, that's just inherent of it. So lately we've seen a lot of addition of AI into the Meraki dashboard. The biggest example kind of being the AI-enhanced radio resource management for your access points, right? So we have tons of telemetry from over 10 million Meraki devices, the majority of those being wireless access points. We're able to see RF spectrums across these different networks and then be able to suggest fine tunings for your radio environment inside your guys' networks to have the optimal user experience. Configuring the devices couldn't be really any easier. So when you purchase a device from Meraki, there's two things you buy. You buy the hardware and the license. License plus hardware equals a purchase order number, right? So you punch in that purchase order number into the dashboard, claim your devices, assign them to a network, you're done. When they come online, they grab the current firmware version that you've selected, they grab the configuration, and off you go. So a lot of that management is taken care of for you. You don't have to go into it, configure SNMP traps. You don't have to go into it and configure your VTY lines on the switches like you would on the Catalyst side of the house. This is all taken care of for you right out of the dashboard. So we have a couple Meraki users in here, a couple Catalyst users in here. Something that was announced by Cisco about 2 years ago and is really coming to fruition now is the concept of converged hardware. So for example, in the past you would have a Meraki switch that's 48 ports, PoE, right? That would run and be managed by Meraki. You would have a Catalyst switch, say 48 ports, PoE, and you would manage that through SSH or DNA Center, Catalyst Center, things like that, right? So there's a lot of redundancy built into that. Why would we have two very similar hardware platforms that we need to develop and support when we could combine that into a single piece of hardware and give you the option of how you want to manage it, right? It's your device. How do you want to manage it? We shouldn't be the ones dictating that, right? So what we have now built into iOS for the Catalyst line is the ability to cloud monitor or cloud manage your Catalyst devices inside the Meraki dashboard. Now there's a distinction that needs to be made there, right? So cloud monitoring, you're going to retain CLI access to your iOS and manage your switch through that. But all of your key switch health and endpoint user health KPIs are going to be reported to the Meraki dashboard. So in that situation, you know, it's not uncommon to have a customer with a lot of MR access points. That's what we run for wireless. But we have Catalyst switching, right? Now we have two different places we need to go to troubleshoot these things and manage these things. So being able to report those KPIs into the dashboard gives you a single pane to kind of do your troubleshooting. The next iteration of that would be to take your iOS Catalyst switch and then fully convert it into a Meraki switch. So at that point in time, you're not going to have access to iOS anymore, and it's going to boot, feel, and operate just like an MS switch would at that point in time. So where do we kind of see this kind of happening? To be completely honest, we see this a lot where, you know, a customer was an early adopter of a question in the back. The question was, does the Cisco SMB or small business switches integrate with this? Not currently. This is kind of being developed on the iOS platform, the iOS XE platform. So where do we see this, right? So you know, a lot of customers were maybe early adopters of DNA Center, now Catalyst Center, and didn't really see that value right away and kind of abandon that product. Well, now here's a very easy way to kind of come back in and get some of this telemetry with minimal configurations. We see it in customers who are shifting to a cloud-first strategy. You know, if we can move this management off-prem into the cloud and not sacrifice features, functionality, or security, we're going to do that. We also see it with customers who are just trying to make their network and IT teams a little bit more agile and lean, right? So if we didn't have Catalyst or DNA Center in there, we're kind of doing things manually. Hey, we can flip all of our Catalyst switches to Meraki and now do batch configuration changes, batch firmware upgrades, and things like that. Very simple. So what's currently supported? Up on the screen here, all of your Catalyst 9200Ls, 9300Ls, and Xs are able to do either the cloud monitored or cloud managed mode at this point in time. 9500s are roadmapped. I think that's in a closed beta right now. And then the Catalyst chassis-based switches, right, so your 9400s, your 9600s, are to be determined at this point. There is no concept of a chassis switch in Meraki. So that concept needs to be built into the logic of the Meraki dashboard first, and then we can work on adding those chassis-based switches. For the switches, you need to have iOS version 17.3, and really we should be targeting 17.15 at this point in time. And the reason for that being is that in 17.15, we finally have true native integration in iOS to the Meraki dashboard, right? So the tunneling protocols, the netconf commands, all of that has been flushed out, and it's Meraki native built into iOS at that point in time. So your experience, your stability, your reload times, things like that are all going to be drastically improved on versions 17.5 and moving forward. And then lastly, you need a DNA license, right? On the wireless side of the house, the supported models are going to be any of our Wi-Fi 6 and Wi-Fi 6E, or excuse me, Wi-Fi 6 or Wi-Fi 7 access points are supported in either Catalyst mode or Meraki mode. And then you're going to need a license. I want to put a little asterisk on that license. So with the Wi-Fi 7 access points, we're introducing the concept of, it's called NX licensing, right? So you don't need a Meraki license. There's no Meraki license anymore for the Wi-Fi 7 access points. There's no DNA license. It's just a Cisco wireless license. So your interoperability between the two platforms is seamless, right? So if you have the switch or a Wi-Fi 6 access point, there is a license conversion that would need to happen. With the Wi-Fi 7 access points, that goes away. This is a build-out slide. We're going to kind of get into some of the newer hardware that's been released. Like I had mentioned, we do now have orderable our Wi-Fi 7 access points. The CW9176 would have a single 10 gig port on the bottom there. They do require the full 60 watts of UPoE power, which is where your MS150 switch is going to come in. You know, that is dedicated Meraki at that point in time. We're not able to flip back and forth on that, but that's going to kind of be your first Wi-Fi 7 ready access point there. And then on the right-hand side, the MS130, which is the natural successor to the MS120. We're going to add things like mGig, 10 gig uplink options on there, and then a ruggedized option as well too. So if you guys have some harsher environments, temperature-wise, that you need to put your switches in, that's Meraki's first foray into the ruggedized switching platform. The cool thing about the MS130, like I said, it's the natural successor to the MS120. It comes in at a lower price point than the MS120. And then lastly, the last hardware update we got here would be a new high-end MX. That's going to be the firewall line in Meraki, the 650. And for those of you that are familiar, the 450 has been outdated for a while now in terms of the number of devices it can support behind it, the speeds and things like that. So it's really nice to see the higher throughput both on the firewalling piece of it, or the threat and protection throughput, as well as the VPN throughput on that. It's over 2x of what the 450 is at this point in time. If you remember me talking about the common hardware platform from before, if you could look really close right there, and I know you can't see it, you would actually see that this MX650 says C8500 up there in the corner, right? So it's a Catalyst 8500 series router that we have been able to run the Meraki firmware on. And maybe that is an indicator of things to come, right, as far as a common hardware strategy would go. Okay, so now kind of into the integrations piece of things here. Bennett did a good job talking about XDR at the end there. And this is really going to showcase the power of the APIs inside of the Meraki dashboard. You have kind of two historically independent management pieces, or investigative tools, right, where you have your networking interface that you manage all your network settings and configurations from, do your troubleshootings there. Then you have a separate portal or dashboard where you're kind of taking a look at your security incidents as well too. With that dashboard, or with that API, we're able to bring XDR into the Meraki dashboard. So you have the two platforms coming closer together, right? You're not going to have the full XDR dashboard built into the Meraki dashboard, but what we're going to do is take the higher fidelity security incidents and showcase those in the Meraki dashboard. And through a concept that's called progressive disclosure, right? We're going to kind of give you the top level, what is the threat name, what's the score of that, and then if you want a little bit more information, be able to get into the MITRE scores and things like that from the Meraki dashboard, assign this incident to a user if you want, and then from there, if a full investigation is needed, you would cross-launch into the XDR dashboard from there. We kind of talked about this a lot. The whole point of the Meraki dashboard is to keep things simple and easy. Now, the integration to get this XDR and MX integration done, it's really done in 3 steps, and Ben had alluded to this as well too. You go into your dashboard, underneath Organization, Integrations, you would click on XDR, paste in some API keys, click Apply, done, right? And what that's going to do is that's actually going to enable a 2-way communication between these 2 platforms where you're going to get network telemetry, incidents, traffic patterns, and things like that from your MX into XDR. And then, like I showed on that previous slide there, those high-fidelity security alerts from XDR back into the Meraki dashboard. So super simple to get that set up. For lean IT shops, that's a huge time saver where we're using that API and the cloud infrastructure on the background to take care of a lot of the legwork for you. Ben also touched on Thousand Eyes too. Same type of integration where you would go click into organization integrations, paste in your API keys from the Thousand Eyes dashboard, and now we're reporting our Thousand Eyes tests into the Meraki dashboard. Quick show of hands, how many of you are familiar with how Thousand Eyes works and kind of its differentiator? Or have you guys not really heard of Thousand Eyes much? Okay, so what Thousand Eyes is it's a network digital experience tool, right? Where we're going to define an application, pick Office 365 or Teams calls, what have you, right? And we're going to deploy an agent onto the network infrastructure itself or onto the endpoint, so like the end user's laptop. And it's more than just like a ping test or a trace route test. What Thousand Eyes actually does is it generates synthetic traffic. So we're going to mimic the traffic of that application and record the loss, latency, and jitter at every hop along the way. So if we have an issue with Microsoft Teams meetings or a SQL application, things like that, you have a breadcrumb trail that you can look at, and it calls it out in bright red where you're having that issue. Now this is highly important when you're moving applications to the cloud or have a SaaS application, because once your traffic leaves your network, you lose control of the QoS and things like that. And if you're having a poor application experience, it might be due to an internet service provider. What's the first thing that ISP says when you call and say, hey, are you guys having any problems? Nope, click, right? I swear that's day 1 of training. I was a network engineer, I dealt with that constantly. So with Thousand Eyes, you can actually take that information and say, okay, well you don't think you're having any issues. Click on this link, here's your router with your IP address, and it's dropping 60% of the packets. Oh, okay, maybe we do have a problem. Yeah, you do, right? We've all been there. So, like I said, simple integration to bring that right into the dashboard and have that information available in a single pane. Kind of wrapping up, we talked about SASE. In the Meraki world, that's called Secure Connect. And once again, everything is going to be done through this dashboard here. We're going to manage the SD-WAN piece of it, being able to do our posture assessments, the ZTNA piece, all of that done through the Meraki dashboard in a single pane there. So I usually like to do a little bit of a tech demo. Live demos are always a bad idea. So just kind of like a quick little video on like what the policy generation what looks like inside of Secure Connect. Oops, and that isn't going to play. But the policy generation is very simple, right? So across in the Cisco Security Cloud, we're able to specify like a subnet and then create a policy object out of that subnet and maybe call it finance, right? So now we can refer to that subnet as finance instead of having to type out 192.168.20.0/24 everywhere, right? Being able to put things into a real language model there. And then from there, being able to deploy it org-wide, right? So previously in Meraki, your network firewall rules had to all be done separately. Now we can do it, org-wide through the security cloud that we had talked about earlier. This is my last slide here. We're kind of running out of time. I'm not going to go through this line item by line item, obviously. But what are we doing with like our SSE solution here? If when you really think about it, you have your MX that's on-prem, and that's kind of what it handles. And now we have this concept of the SSE, which is Secure Connect. Yes, there's some overlap. But if you kind of take a look at some of these things at the bottom here, these are traditionally controls that you would have in your data center, right? So we're taking those controls and we're lifting them up to the cloud where your management and of your network is as well too, to kind of have that all in one area. So it's really going to lighten the footprint, of your data center and kind of shift things off to the cloud there and just handle it all in one place. So that brings us to the end here. Ben and I will be at the booth, the Cisco booth, for a little bit this afternoon. If you got questions, feel free to come up to us after this or swing by anytime this afternoon. If you don't have time to do that, my name is Matt Ham. Email address mham2@cisco.com. If you got any questions, feel free to reach out. Thank you.